Good afternoon, this is Bob from Trade Genius. It's the 27th of January, and man, first month flew by already here. I guess a couple more trading days next week, but month's just about shot. And I'm going to go through my charts here for kind of a weekend update, recap, and just a really interesting ending to a interesting week. So we've been in this crazy range for the longest time, and for some unknown algo reason, $1 trillion stimulus plan, and from the, I guess, Senate Democrats was thrown out there for the red meat for the algos, and they popped it to get to Dow 20,000, and so we got that big move, and then the rest of the week was kind of a fade back. But there's a lot going on underneath, though, that is more interesting. And for me, in terms of trading, is that, we had our credit spread 229, 231, and that finished true for us. And my expectation was it was going to come down. But I thought it would come down a little bit further. So this is like the last couple months in a row here where they're leaving, rewarding the call buyers and punishing the put buyers. And so I thought it would come at least down to the VWAP here, but it's just hanging up here. But it came back down into the blue area, which I was pretty confident that it was going to do. And so now going forward is, we're going into February. People are buying VIX calls like crazy. They're buying February, they're buying March, and those I don't know if they're buying the March contracts to start selling the February contracts to keep grinding out, the XIV trade again, or what. But we're getting pretty close to where that trade's going to blow up on somebody big time. Check this out. So we got the VIX down now, 1047. I think 938 or 968 or something like that is the lowest ever. And so, once it does that, it's just it's going to raise some alarm bells in some of the risk officers around the trading world, because these guys have fiduciary responsibilities, and if they start losing money for people because they had their traders hanging it all out at the lowest volatility, they're putting their companies in financial and legal harm. So at some point here, people are going to start pulling their horns in, and it's going to cause for pretty nasty reversal. And that's my expectation. This is coming, and it's just amazing how long they're just able to grind this thing out. And so this is just like it was at the end of 2006. But it's different, because 2006, everybody was pretty euphoric. Brave new world, and things are happening, and real estate's going through the roof, and things can go no wrong. And this whole time Obama's been in, it's just been climbing the wall of worry, disaster on every turn. Trump is going to end the world, and life as we know it's going to end. And so, we're all going to be in FEMA camps, and yet they're just grinding volatility into the ground. And so it's just the cognitive dissonance to me is just absolutely amazing. And so, but we're almost there. And once again, I wish more folks to get into the trading room. Is that we were able to take another nice day trade in XIV, and we pulled everything off on the short vol side. Is that I just can't hold anything overnight. The shoe's going to drop one night, and retail's going to get hammered because they can't use the futures market to help them. And they're going to wake up. It's going to be like 2011 when gold and silver market just did an overnight collapse on a Sunday night. And I think that's what's going to happen to people here with the stock market. It's going to catch a lot of people off sides, and then volatility go up, and then the traders have to respond to the volatility going up, because all their risk calculations tell them the higher the volatility, the less risk they can take, and so on and so forth. And they go from virtuous to vicious. And so that's coming. And what was really interesting about that is that they've been using this to to jam the market. Didn't work today. They're using this to jam the market, basically selling the yen off. That didn't work today, and then the most shorted stocks they use, and we've pretty much have wiped out pretty much anything that's short. So they're running out of tools. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And now just to go back to my, now I'll just do a quick roll through. That was kind of a preamble here to my sermon. But just to blast through the charts here now, the miners, they didn't react to it. Typically when the yen goes down, gold goes down. Today it reversed against it. That's important. When things don't do what they're supposed to do, you take note. Okay? I didn't want to take on anything on a Friday because I didn't know if there's any. If these are shenanigans for OPEX, for the weekly OPEX. So I'm going to wait till Monday. But it was very encouraging to see that gold and the miners reversed off that, counter to the move in the forex. And we're pretty much with the financials. I don't trade them too much, but they're pretty neutral here. And so there's nothing really exciting for me with XLF. Now again, we talked about miners. CHK had a big move up. It was this whole thing. This oil thing has just been just crazy. They just keep banging it in a range, and 51 to 54, 51 to 54, and I think it's just the traders playing Pong. There's so much oil out there, and it gets to 54, and the American producers say thank you very much. We'll hedge even more of our production, and then it drops down to 51, and OPEC goes, oh crap, and they start buying it back. The Saudis are trying to price out their national oil company to get that off the books. And I think once that happens, it's probably going to ring the bell for oil. We emerging markets, this is one to watch. If the dollar rolls over, this is going to fly higher. I'd like for it to get back down to VWAP. I don't want to chase it when it's so far above the range. But it's definitely being accumulated. So, I think it might be a change in direction here from the U.S. market to emerging markets. We'll see. But something to keep an eye on. I'd like for it to come back down before I offer a signal on it. VXX, we talked about vol. IWM, we also had a call spread on IWM. It came out a little flattish because it was finishing in the money. And so, I would consider it a tie for the signal. And it was really a mistake on my part. I got a little greedy. I went a little farther in the money than my dots told me to. So I should have reached up to the 137, 139. It was paying out 10 cents. I went into the 136. It was paying out 20 some cents. And then I ended up having to just give it back. So lesson learned from me. Don't be greedy. Just take your nickels. And the signals are doing what they're supposed to do. But, now we're at a point now where... next week I think there's going to be an opportunity to sell call spreads against it again. I'm looking for IWM to start falling again. It's getting close. Twitter, I added this one. I have a subscriber that just really likes to trade it. Said it's a great channel trade. And so when it gets to the low 1650s, buy it. When it gets to the 1750s, 18, sell it. So I thought I'd put it on there and kind of see what it does. And so I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. And it looks like it might be setting up for a trade. I think I'm going to watch it a cycle or two before I throw it onto the signal service. But, if something's that reliable, that you can grind out, 2 or 3% on a trade, every couple weeks on it and rinse and repeat, that's something of interest to me. So thank you for the sub that put that to my attention. XLE, I think it's rolling over again, i.e. oil. So it's really struggling. And it got up to the VWAP and rolled back over. This is one I want to raise the flag on, that I think oil services are in trouble. And I'll get to the other one when it shows up here in a sec. Talked about XIV. We're long UNG. And it's pretty much where we bought it, and some guys bought it a little bit lower. They didn't sell yesterday. I'm just watching. I think it's going to fill the gap. We're cold weather cycling through again. The storage reports are favorable for natural gas to go higher, so I didn't want to jump in and out of this thing. But I'm looking for $9 on this thing within the month. Gold, you know, if it wasn't Friday, I would have probably took a shot at it to buy a position. Just going to see what happens on Monday. But we're going to need to be engaged with, the metals and miners here. I think the action is beginning. SLV almost back to the 17 highs, and I'm in with silver miners, so I'm not too worried about not being in silver itself. I like more like the leverage. NAK, I'm throwing this on the watch list. This is a trade that I've been taking for quite some time. It's a little overbought right now, but that's just telling you that good companies are staying with it. And this thing dips down into the mid twos, be a good add to. And they own the biggest gold, copper, and molybdenum mine in the world with reserves up in Alaska. Obama put the kibosh on them, with his EPA. I think people are sensing that Trump won't, and so they may start trying to push this thing into production here, and this company will absolutely explode. XLK, the tech companies, they're pushing up the top here. Google had a report that sold away. I talked a little bit about that yesterday. How you can play those earnings, and they've been using XLK and also XLG to jam the market higher. With the breadth getting thinner and thinner, they're going after companies with the highest organic growth rates. But this thing's really overbought right now. It needs to probably come down probably 3 or 4%, at least in the near term. Real estate, I've been wanting to try to play this thing with REK. It just doesn't move in a whole lot, but it's really a yin and yang going on here now. Versus will lower rates be more profitable? Will the asset values start to crumble because they're not generating enough revenue? But this is the one that once we start slipping into recession, waving the flag, you'll need to either get some IYR puts, or you want to get some SRS, or you're going to want to get some REK and just hold them. You'll make 600% on it as this thing rolls into a recession again. And I see no way we can avoid it. Valuations is out of control, and the occupancy rates are falling, and Amazon and Janet Yellen and the recession will do the work for us. MOS setting up ready for another buy for us. I'm just waiting till next week. Came back down. This thing is really high beta. It also channels really well. I didn't pull the trigger because it was Friday, and sometimes this has a tendency to overthrow down, and I just don't want to buy it, have it drop down, hit my stop, then fly up on me again, because I hate to chase them. So I'm just going to kind of wait and see. If it gets a lift on Monday, I'll jump in. If it comes down a little bit further, I'll probably take a buy on it. Discretionary, we talked about this. There's no discretionary income, so I don't know why this thing is lifting. So unless it's all Amazon. SLW, I'll be getting back in SLW here again on Monday. Same rationale. I just didn't want to pull the trigger on Friday. My favorite. We've been making money on it, but it's not been fun. It's not reaching our limit before they start selling it back, and at least our stop's moving up to make profit on it. But I'm going to get back in this again, because once it starts to move and that move becomes sustainable, SLW is $50. AG, we're in. Almost had a buy for a little bit more yesterday. Didn't take the buy. Didn't want to chase it on Friday, so we have our position in it. And again, I'm looking for AG to be mid-tens here, not too distant future. XBI, this is the other one that I have high hopes for on the short side. So I think I think biotech's going to be in Trump's crosshair, especially when they start figuring out how to afford health care for all. And this is where the money is. So I'm looking for a lot more jawboning by President Trump, and he has additional um, incentive because a lot of these guys huddled underneath Schumer, Menendez, and Feinstein for their headquarters, and just to give themselves extra protection. But now those guys can't protect them. So I'm looking for them to start cutting deals, start cutting prices, cutting in their margin, because you just can't afford to get sick and these guys slap a $500,000 treatment package on you. The country simply can't afford it. And so I think they're going to take a really hard look at all these companies. And Trump's already mentioned that he has pharma in his gun sights. So just watching right now. Well, not watching right now. I have BIS, but I'm watching it to layer on some additional leverage with some puts. Dollar is, here we go. It's slowly drifting down. So let me zoom out here a little bit. Can't really get perspective, but look at that. So the high was in December. It just slip sliding away. We're back to where we were 1st of December, but SPY's still up here. So I'm looking for this to come down and meet it, because nothing's changed in our world other than we're getting even more recessionary. As you know, the GDP results were 1.9% and falling. And so I think people are sensing that if Yellen raises rates, it's the last one or she's an idiot. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens at their meeting next week. Oil, I talked about it. It just does nothing. It's just a trader game. So stay away. ERX, again, same ilk as what we talked about with the oil services. We're in TWM, by the way. Let me go back. Sorry, jumped too quickly. We have a position in that. 2285 is our buy-in. And so I'm looking for it to come to VWAP, probably take profit there and then reevaluate, because it's an ultra, so we'll start getting slippage after it. That'll give us a good profit for us for being in a trade for a week. And if the market has any weakness next week at all, it'll push through to there. CRK, I just watch it. I mean, just out of the blue, boom. I don't know why I have it on there. I'm always afraid to pull the trigger. SH, I threw just a general call to people. If you're not a trader and you just want to own, I think we're as good as we're getting right now. So I don't see this big nirvana coming our way. And so my recommendation is, if you need to shift out of being all long and you need to get some protection, this is one without any leverage. And you can set aside, I'm expecting at least a 10% correction in the stock market in the next 90 days. And this way you can save 10% on one side of it and then save 10% on this side of it, and you pick up 2 points with no drama, and you have now cashed in to buy things that are 10% cheaper. So three-way winner for you. DBA, I'm waiting to see. Dollar went down and this went down, so I'm going to wait for it to reverse. But I own this long term. This is kind of a food inflation hedge for me, and I'm waiting to offer a signal for it here. Hopefully, we'll get a signal in the next 3 to 5 days on it to the plus side. Drip, a lot of people that are subscribed to us are in Drip. It's kind of the inverse of what I was talking about with XLE. It's starting to get its sea legs. It's never really sold off with the market going crazy, and I think it's going to pay people pretty well here in the next 60 to 90 days. Wheat, not much to talk about. BIS, we're in BIS, and we're a little under the water on it right now, but it's not hitting our stop, so we're above VWAP. And I think because everything else wasn't working, they lifted biotech. And they do that a lot. We see a lot when SPY's down, biotech's up. They just kind of yin-yang the markets here to move money around. And I see biotech just continuing to get weak. Looks like a little cup and handle here forming, even though it's an ultra. Interesting to me for a long. ICL, I threw this on. It's just another ag chem. A lot of people trade it, and if it gets down into the mid 4 area, a lot of big short interest on this, and also possibility for a takeout, and so it's something to keep an eye on, and I'll be signaling it when it hits my next buy. And we talked about real estate, and we talked about the yen, and sugar just flat. Coffee, we're in coffee, and so the supply demand on coffee is good, and it had a nice move today. Kind of drifted back down towards the day, probably some profit taking, but as we go through the winter here, it'll get a seasonal lift, and plus people are going to see the damage that's being done to the crops here in South America, and I think you'll see coffee really go. SILJ, this is a silver miner. Everything's squeezed up on me here. Sorry about that. Let me give a little bit more room. There we go. This will be one to buy. Like I said, I didn't want to buy anything on a Friday, so look to see if there's any carry forward for Monday. And this is the junior silver miners. This will have a lot of beta, and it'll really go. Corn, it's that VWAP. People like to trade corn. I think it's a good area to buy again. JJG is at a buy point, and I'll look to get back into it on Monday or Tuesday. XLG, this is what they use to jam the market too. It's the top NASDAQ or Russell companies, and so has the ability to move the market. So this is where the hedge funds and the central banks like to push it, so they can push the whole market higher. It looks like it's rolling over here a little bit. Okay, the VIX we talked about, and we're done. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Sorry for the long video. Hope I gave you a good overview. Catch you guys on Monday. I think it's going to be a really, really fun week. Thanks. Bye.